On the wild planet Varnock, there was one place every alien feared: the red-fanged jungle. It was not just dangerous, it was cursed. Even the strongest warriors never returned once they stepped into it. The jungle was filled with deadly plants, giant flying insects, and monsters with teeth longer than a grown alien's arm. No one ever entered. No one ever survived. Princess Zira, a young warrior of the Corval Empire, stood on a cliff above the jungle. Her purple skin shimmered in the golden sunlight. She had sharp eyes trained to notice danger from miles away. Today her eyes spotted something strange. A human. He was walking calmly into the red-fanged jungle. No armor, no weapons, just a backpack and a long metal stick that glowed faintly. Zira blinked. Was she seeing a ghost? No one, not even a human, could survive that jungle. Yet there he was. His back was straight. His pace was slow, but strong. And then he vanished into the green wall of vines and trees. Zira's heart raced. Her mission was to patrol the skies. She wasn't supposed to land, but this was something else. A mystery. And Zira loved mysteries more than orders. "If he dies, no one will believe me," she muttered, jumping into her scout pod and flying down. The air inside the jungle was thick and heavy. Strange calls echoed through the trees. Red flowers opened and closed like hungry mouths. The ground was wet, soft, and covered in thick moss. Zira followed the human's tracks, deep footprints in the mud, broken branches, and a strange scent, like smoke and cooked meat. After almost an hour, she reached a clearing, and what she saw made her freeze. The human was sitting by a fire. His clothes were torn. His face had scratches, but he was calm, focused. A giant red-clawed beast, one of the most dangerous animals on Varnock, lay dead beside him. Its neck was cut, its body half-skinned, and the human was roasting its meat over the fire. Zira's legs trembled, not from fear, but from shock. The red-clawed beast was a nightmare. It moved faster than light. Its bite could crush steel. Her people lost entire squads trying to kill just one. And this human, he had done it alone. Zira stepped closer. A twig cracked under her foot. The human looked up. His eyes were strange, calm and deep, like he had seen things no one else had. He didn't reach for a weapon. He didn't move at all. He just stared. Zira raised her hand slowly. "I mean no harm," she said in her language. The human tilted his head. He didn't understand, so she pointed to the beast, then to him. "You kill beast?" The human nodded. Then, to her surprise, he smiled. He broke a piece of meat and held it out. Zira didn't move. Her training screamed, "Don't eat unknown food," but her curiosity won. Slowly, she took the meat and tasted it. It was delicious, smoky, soft, and rich. She looked at the human again. "Who are you?" He took a stick and drew a symbol on the ground. A planet, then a ship, then an explosion. He tapped his chest. "Crash," he said, then pointed to the jungle. "Survive." Zira understood. He had crashed here, and he had survived. Alone, in the most dangerous place on Varnock. That was impossible. But it was true. As they sat in silence, the jungle moved around them. A giant insect buzzed above. The human threw a sharp stone. Direct hit. The insect fell, dead. Zira watched him with new eyes. He wasn't just a man. He was something more. The sun began to set. Long shadows stretched across the clearing. The fire burned brighter, and the jungle's sounds became louder, darker. Zira stood to leave. The human simply waved. But something inside her told her this wasn't over. She looked back once more, memorizing the scene. A lone human, eating the flesh of Varnock's apex, predator, in the heart of the most feared jungle in the galaxy. No one would believe her, but she would come back. Because this human, this stranger, had just changed everything. The next morning, Zira couldn't stop thinking about the human. She had returned to her patrol ship during the night, but sleep never came. The image of the human sitting calmly beside the fire, eating the red-clawed beast like it was a simple meal. It haunted her. So at sunrise, she returned to the jungle. This time, she came without armor. No weapons, just a translator chip hidden behind her ear and a cloak to cover her skin from the jungle's heat. She followed the same broken path, and again she found him, awake, already working. He was sharpening bones, not metal, bones, from the dead beast, smooth, shaped into sharp tools. He used tree sap to harden them in the fire. He didn't look surprised when he saw her, just nodded, like he had expected her. Zira sat down across from him, watching silently. "How long?" she finally asked, tapping her translator. The human looked at her, then held up fingers. Two fingers. Two. What? 2 days? She asked. He shook his head, then drew something in the dirt again, a sun rising and setting many times. He drew 70 little marks. Zira's eyes widened. 70 days. He had survived 70 days alone in this deadly jungle. No help, no tech, no team, just him. Zira couldn't help but ask, "How?" The human smiled a little. Then, instead of answering with words, he stood and gestured for her to follow. Hesitating for a second, Zira got up. They walked deeper into the jungle. The trees grew thicker, the air hotter. Zira stayed close, and then she saw it. His camp, it wasn't just a fire pit. It was a fortress. Trees had been bent into walls. Sharp bones were stuck into the ground like traps. There were leaves that gave off smells to keep flying insects away. Above, he had strung vines like warning bells. But the most amazing thing, he had planted food. Small alien fruits, poisonous to most species, but not to humans apparently, grew in perfect rows. Roots dried and hanging, fresh water collected in carved wood. Zira was speechless. He wasn't just hunting, he was surviving like he belonged here. He lived like the jungle had accepted him. The human picked a fruit and offered it. Zira checked her translator, safe for Corval species but very bitter. Still, she took a bite, sour, but energizing. "You didn't run," she said quietly. "Others run from the jungle, you stayed." He pointed to his chest. "Broken ship, no choice." Zira understood. He had crashed, and instead of dying, he adapted. But how? "You're not normal human," she said, testing his reaction. He chuckled, then walked to a large rock and pushed a hidden button. A panel opened. Inside, she saw it, a tiny blue vial. "What is it?" she asked. The human held it up. "Survivor serum," he said. "Earth experiment. Test subject." Zira's translator chirped. The meaning was clear. He had been a test subject in a secret human survival program. Now it made sense. His blood, his speed, his calmness in chaos. He was made to survive anything. Even this. But that wasn't all. There was more in his eyes. A sadness. A secret pain. Zira didn't push. Not yet. As they sat again near the fire, the human showed her how he made his traps. He dug holes with sharp bones, then covered them with leaves. He tied thorny vines to trees, so when something walked by, it got snared. He showed her which plants to eat, which to avoid. How to listen to the sounds. When the birds stopped chirping, it meant something big was coming. Zira realized something. He didn't just survive this jungle. He had become part of it. And the jungle, it let him live. For the first time in her life, Zira felt small. She was a trained warrior from a mighty alien empire. But here, she was a student. And the teacher was a quiet human who hadn't spoken more than 20 words. By the time the sun began to set again, Zira knew one thing for sure. This human was not just a story. He was a legend in the making. But legends attract attention. And somewhere in the sky above, someone was watching. For the next 2 days, Princess Zira kept returning to the jungle. Each time, the human was waiting. Not with words, but with knowledge. He taught her how to read the wind, how to walk without sound, and how to find safe paths through poison plants. They still couldn't speak much, but they understood each other now, like two wild animals, sharing the same forest. But on the 3rd day, something strange happened. Zira arrived early. The human was not at the camp. His traps were untouched, fire cold, food missing. She waited, an hour passed, then another, and then she heard a sound, fast, heavy. She turned, hand on her small knife, and saw him stumble through the vines. His chest was bleeding. Zira rushed forward. What happened? The human didn't speak. He dropped to his knees and opened his backpack. From it, he pulled out something she had never seen before, a metal cube, glowing red. Before she could ask, he pressed a hidden button. The cube opened. Inside was a small injector. He stabbed it into his leg. Within seconds, the bleeding stopped. His breath slowed. His eyes cleared. Zira stared. What is that? He looked at her, tired. He pointed to the cube. Human tech, not for others. Why are you hiding it? She asked. The human stood slowly, limping. Then with shaky hands he unzipped his shirt. What she saw froze her. His body was not normal. Metal plates beneath his skin. Strange blue lines running across his chest. His left arm, completely artificial, but moving like flesh. Zira stepped back, her eyes wide. What are you? He touched his chest. Cyber soldier. Project HOPE. The translator struggled, then gave her the meaning. Human optimization program. Experiment. Zira's breath caught. She had heard whispers. Rumors of secret human missions to build the perfect survivor. A soldier that could live on any world, adapt to any danger, but no one believed it was real. Until now. Why? Are you here? She asked slowly. The human looked at her, his eyes sad. Then he pointed to the sky. They sent me. A test. Survive 100 days. No rescue, no contact. Zira's mind raced. He wasn't here by accident. He was left here, on purpose. What happens when the 100 days are over? She asked. His face turned dark. He looked toward the sky again, then whispered, They watch. Always. Just then, a strange buzzing filled the air. Zira pulled out her scanner. A tiny, black drone hovered above them, half hidden in the leaves. The human didn't move. He simply picked up a stone and threw it. The drone exploded. Zira jumped. He didn't even blink. They're watching you? She asked. The human nodded. Who? He didn't answer. But Zira already knew. Not aliens. Not beasts. Humans. His own kind. They were testing him like an animal, watching him fight, survive, bleed, and heal. Zira felt anger rising in her chest. They had turned him into a tool and thrown him into a jungle like trash, and he still smiled. He still helped her learn. Zira looked at him. You don't have to prove anything anymore. He shook his head. They won't stop. Not unless I disappear. Zira frowned. Disappear? He drew in the dirt again. A ship, then a line through it. No signal. No trace. If they think I died, they'll stop looking. Zira stood silent. The jungle whispered around them. I can help, she said. The human looked at her with calm eyes. For the first time, she saw something behind them. Fear. Not fear of the jungle, not fear of death. Fear of going back. He had tasted freedom. Even in pain, even in wild danger, he had lived his way for the first time. And now, he didn't want to be found. Zira placed her hand on his arm. Then we make sure no one finds you. Far above, in a dark human space station orbiting the planet, a voice spoke. Subject 7 has destroyed Drone 14. Another voice responded. Send the final test squad. If he survives them, bring him home. The jungle was too quiet. No birds, no buzzing. Even the wind had stopped. Zira felt it in her bones. Something was wrong. The human knew it too. His steps were slower. His eyes scanned every leaf, every branch. They weren't alone anymore. "They're here," he whispered. Zira tightened her grip on her cloak. "Who?" He didn't answer, just pointed toward the sky. And then they heard it. A soft hum. Not natural. Not jungle. Machines. 5 dark figures dropped silently through the trees. No parachutes, no noise, just shadow and precision. Their armor was sleek black-like space with glowing red visors. Rifles attached to their arms. They moved like ghosts. "They don't come to capture," the human said. "They come to erase." Zira's heart pounded. "What do? We don't fight, we vanish." Without another word, he grabbed a thick vine, swung over a ridge, and disappeared into the forest. Zira followed. What came next wasn't battle. It was a hunt, but not the kind with weapons and war cries. A silent war. The human led her through tunnels of twisted roots, under fallen trees, through waist-deep swamp water. Always moving. Always listening. He knew the jungle like it was his partner. When they passed a strange plant with blue leaves, he stopped, broke one leaf, and rubbed the liquid on his arms and faced Zira did the same. The smell was horrible, like burnt meat and acid. "It hides scent," he said. Behind them, the soldiers scanned the area. Their visors glowed. But when they passed the blue leaf plant, they paused. The trail was gone. The human pulled Zira away before they could double back. For 2 hours they ran without making a sound. But the soldiers were not fools. They set traps. Lasers hidden in trees. Drones buzzing low. Motion sensors buried in moss. When one small drone flew close, Zira reached for her blade. The human held her hand. "Watch." He threw a pebble to the right. The drone followed it. Then he struck it with a bone-tipped arrow. Silent. Clean. Zira realized something terrifying. This human wasn't just surviving. He was outsmarting trained killers. They reached a cliff edge. "Below mist rocks, a fast-moving river. We jump," he said. Zira stared. "We'll die." He grinned. "Better than getting caught." Without warning, he leaped. Zira screamed and followed. The water hit like ice and thunder. The river pulled her under, but strong arms grabbed her and pulled her to the surface. They floated into a dark cave hidden by vines. They were safe, for now. Inside the cave, the human lit a small fire using glowing stones and dry bark. Zira sat, shivering. "They won't stop, will they?" "No," he said. "Until I die or disappear forever." Zira's voice trembled. "Why are they doing this? You're not a weapon. You're a person." The human looked at the fire. "To them, I'm data. I was never meant to survive this long." Zira clenched her fists. "Then we give them what they want." He looked at her, confused. "We let them think you died." She stood, dripping wet, eyes burning with an idea. "I'll call in a false signal. They'll find remains, fake ones, burned gear, DNA samples, all fake." The human stared at her. "Why help me?" She stepped closer. "Because you're the first one who didn't treat me like royalty. You treated me like an equal. And because I'm tired of watching good beings suffer while monsters give orders." A pause. Long. Quiet. Then he said softly, "Thank you." But deep in the jungle, something else was moving. A 6th figure, not part of the soldier team. Not human. Something worse. Something ancient. The human suddenly stood up, his eyes sharp again. "What is it?" Zira asked. He pointed behind her. New predator. Not them. Something else. Bigger. Zira turned pale. "How many things in this jungle want to kill you?" The human didn't smile this time. Everything. Something was watching them. Even inside the cave, the air had changed. Thicker. Heavier. Like the jungle itself was holding its breath. The human stood perfectly still. Even his heartbeat seemed to stop. Zira stared at him. "What is it?" He didn't blink. Something worse than soldiers. Outside, the mist began to move, not with wind, but with legs. Massive, slow, deliberate. A shadow passed by the cave mouth. 8 limbs. Armored plates. Glowing green eyes. Zira gasped. A night phantom? Worse, the human said. Night phantoms were the oldest predators of Varnock, believed extinct, faster than sound, strong enough to bend metal, venomous to almost all species. Even Zira's people had lost battles against one, and this one was fully grown. The human grabbed a bone spear. "Stay behind me." "You can't fight that," Zira said, stepping back. "No one can." He didn't answer. He simply walked out of the cave. The predator was waiting, as tall as a tree, armored like a tank, claws scraping stone. Its jaws dripped glowing blue saliva that hissed when it touched the ground. The human moved slowly. No, panic, just focus. The predator hissed, then charged. Zira screamed. The human didn't run. He stepped to the side at the last second and slashed with the bone spear. Crack. The tip pierced between armor plates. The beast shrieked, but it wasn't done. It spun, struck the human with its tail, and sent him flying into a tree. Zira ran forward, but he was already standing again, bleeding, but smiling. He pulled something from his belt, a tiny vial. He drank it fast, his body tensed. The wounds began to close. Zira's jaw dropped. "What did you just drink?" "Accelerator," he grunted. "Pain later." The predator rushed again. This time the human ran toward it. He leaped, right over the beast's head, and drove the spear into its skull. The predator roared and thrashed. They fell together, silence. Zira's breath caught in her throat. Then, movement. The human rose, bruised, gasping, but standing, and the predator lay dead, at his feet. Its blood glowing blue soaked the earth. Zira stepped closer in awe. "Yusa killed it." He sat on a rock, exhausted. "Yes. No one has killed one in hundreds of years," she said softly. "And you did it. Alone." He looked at the corpse. Not alone. Jungle helped. Zira looked down and saw how vines had tangled around the beast's legs during the fight. The jungle really did fight with him. It respected him. She stared at the glowing blood. What now? He pulled a small scanner from his pack and aimed it at the predator. The screen lit up. "Rare biomass detected. Exporting data," he cursed. "What?" Zira asked. "They'll know I killed it. The signal can't be stopped." She understood. The humans were watching. Still, and now they knew, their experiment had killed a monster even galactic armies feared. They wouldn't just want him back. They'd want to control him. Clone him. Use him. Zira whispered. "They'll come, with more ships, more fire." The human nodded. He dipped his hand in the glowing blood and smeared it across his face like war paint. "Then we send a message back," he said coldly. "What message?" He looked at the stars. "I'm not your weapon. I'm your warning." Across the galaxy on a massive human battlecruiser, an officer stared at the new report. Subject 7. Alive. Status: predator neutralized. Footage: confirmed. He turned to his commander. "Sir, he killed it." The commander frowned. "Launch the fleet," he said. "This ends now." The jungle was silent again, but not peaceful. The predator's body still lay there, huge, terrifying, and dead. Zira stood by the fire, watching the human cut a piece of glowing meat from the beast's ribs. His hands moved carefully, respectfully, like a ritual. He cleaned the blade, wrapped the flesh in giant leaves, and placed it over the fire. Zira watched in silence. This moment, quiet and strange, felt like history, like something bigger than both of them. The human handed her a cooked piece. She hesitated. "You're serious," she whispered. He nodded. "You shared food with me. Now I share with you." Zira looked down at the predator meat, glowing, hot, and full of mystery. Her people believed eating a predator like this was taboo, an insult to nature, a mark of rebellion. And yet, she took a bite. The flavor hit like thunder, spicy, smoky, wild. Her heart beat faster. Her vision felt sharper. For a second, she thought the jungle breathed with her. She looked at the human. "This will not be forgotten," she said. "Good," he replied. What neither of them knew was that a drone, hidden far above in the trees, had captured the moment. The human, the alien princess, sitting beside each other, eating the flesh of the strongest predator on Varnock. Together, the footage was already flying through space, through secret channels, intercepted transmissions, and black market networks. When it reached the Corval Empire, Royal Council members gasped. She sat with him? She ate with him? The predator beast? This is treason. But in the back alleys and broken cities, among the poor, the forgotten, and the unwanted, the story spread like fire he shared with her. They ate together. He treated her like a warrior, not a tool. Soon the image became a symbol, a banner of rebellion, of unity, of something more. Back in the jungle, Zira stared at the firelight dancing in the human's eyes. "They will call me a traitor for this," she said softly. He nodded. "You still chose it," she smiled. "Yes, and I'd choose it again." Suddenly a flash lit up the sky. Zira turned her gaze upward. "What is that?" He didn't answer. They both knew. Ships, warships. The ground began to hum. Faint, but growing. Louder. "They found me," he said. Zira stood. "We run." He shook his head. "No more running." "Then what?" "We fight." Zira frowned. "You can't beat a fleet." "Not with strength," he said. "But maybe, with meaning." Before she could ask, he walked to the predator's body. With vines and mud, he painted symbols across its scales, messages in every alien tongue he had learned. "What are you doing?" Zira asked. "Sending a message to the galaxy," he said. "What message?" He pointed to the fire where their shared meal still burned. "We're not enemies," he said. "We're what they fear most." Zira nodded slowly. "A human and an alien, side by side. Equals," he added. Above them, warships descended, loud, bright, angry. But below them, in the heart of the jungle, two figures stood proud. Man once thrown away by his own people, a princess once bound by her empire's chains, and now, they were legends in the making. In a crowded alien market light years away, a poor merchant showed his son a small, printed image. It showed a glowing campfire, a human and a princess, and the bones of a beast no one else had ever killed. "What's that, Papa?" the boy asked. The father smiled. "That," he said, "is the moment the galaxy changed." The sky was burning. Warships hovered like giants above the red-fanged jungle, casting shadows over the trees. Their engines roared, loud and angry, shaking the ground. Bright beams of light scanned every leaf, every rock, every breath. Princess Zira stood beside the human, both unarmed, both unafraid. Above them, a loudspeaker cracked. "Subject 7. Surrender immediately. You have no escape." The human didn't move. His eyes were locked on the fire between them, now surrounded by the bones of the predator he had slain. Zira looked up. "They don't understand. They still think you're just an experiment." He nodded. "Let them come, but I won't go back." "Then we make our stand here," she said. But he shook his head. "Not a stand," he said. "A story." Before she could reply, he stepped into the open clearing, alone. The spotlight hit him instantly. He raised both hands slowly. A voice barked again, "Do not resist." But instead of answering, he pulled a small device from his pocket and tossed it onto the ground. The device blinked. A signal broadcasted upward, straight into the fleet. And then, everything changed. Across every screen, in every command center, a video began to play. Uncut. Uncensored. The full recording. The human alone in the jungle. Surviving. bleeding, healing, fighting beasts, protecting Zira, killing the predator, sharing a meal, smiling with her, not as a weapon, not as a soldier, but as a person, a being with heart, with choice, with honor. On the flagship above, the general cursed. Shut it down! But it was too late. The signal spread beyond the fleet, hacked into galactic. Networks projected onto billboards, streamed into schools, broadcasted across planets and everywhere. Beings watched. They saw the truth. Not a beast, not a monster, but a man, a survivor, a legend. In the jungle, the warships didn't fire. They hovered, waiting. The general screamed into the comms, "Fire now! Destroy him!" But the captains hesitated. "Sir," one replied, "there are eyes on us now. The whole galaxy is watching." "Then erase the witnesses," the general shouted. But before his order could be followed, a strange sound echoed from the trees. A roar. Not a human. Not a machine. Something ancient. The jungle answered. From every shadow, from every hidden path, creatures emerged, silent and deadly. The same beasts the human had once hunted, but now they stood behind him. Horned creatures, clawed beasts, winged predators, all of them still, all of them watching, protecting him. Zira stepped beside the human. She looked up at the ships. "You want to erase him?" she said. "You'll have to erase this entire planet." The human raised one hand. He pointed to the predator's skull beside the fire, then to himself, then to Zira, then to the stars, and without saying a word, he turned his back to the warships and walked into the jungle. Untouched. Days passed. The ships left. Too many eyes, too much risk. The story spread like a storm. On distant planets, children played games where they pretended to be the jungle human. Rebel soldiers painted his symbol on their armor. Alien artists carved statues of the moment he shared the predator feast with Zira. And across the stars his name was whispered with respect. He had no army, no throne, no flag, but he had something stronger, the heart of a galaxy. Years later, in a peaceful village near the edge of the jungle, a traveler asked an old man, "Is the story true?" The old man smiled. "Which one? The one about the human who survived the red-fanged jungle? The one who ate the predator? The one who walked with monsters?" The old man leaned close, his eyes sparkled. "Not only did he survive," he whispered, "he taught the galaxy that sometimes the wildest soul has the kindest heart." The traveler laughed. "So what happened to him?" The old man looked. To the trees. The wind blew softly. "They say he still walks the jungle," he said. "Not as prey, not as predator, but as legend."